The Galactic Council chamber hung above a sea of stars. For 10,000 years, that chamber had been a place of calm voices and careful logic. But today it trembled. Reports flooded in from border systems. Entire patrol fleets had vanished. No wreckage, no signals, just silence. High Chancellor Varen of the Elindra Empire stood at the center table, his silver skin flickering under the blue lights. "We warned you," he said, voice tight. Humanity's silence was never peace. They were waiting. Around him, dozens of species argued, voices clicking, hissing, pulsing through translators. The word human echoed like thunder through the air. For centuries, the Council had believed Earth destroyed. After the resource wars, after the containment protocols, humanity's world was sealed and forgotten. No ships had been seen, no signals heard. The Council had called it mercy, but now, something moved in the dark. A scout captain appeared on the holofeed, his image shaking. Behind him, a vast shape drifted through the void, black and glowing with thin red lines. "It's not a fleet," he whispered. "It's one ship." But it blocked out a star. The feed went dead. The chamber fell silent. Even the breathing of the scaled Carthan stopped. "Identify it," Varen ordered. "Designation unknown," the AI assistant replied. "Mass reading impossible. It matches no recorded technology." Some delegates laughed nervously. "One ship cannot threaten the Council." Others didn't laugh. They remembered old stories about the humans who had once built warships that could rewrite physics itself. From the shadows of the hall, the archivist of Zera spoke for the first time in centuries. "Do you recall what they called the Obsidian Doctrine?" A hollow record flickered to life. Ancient human soldiers in dark armor stood beside massive black ships. A single motto glowed on their helmets: "One is enough." A cold wind seemed to sweep through the chamber. Far away, on the edge of the Council's territory, a small cargo vessel drifted silently through space. Its captain, a young Valari named Sethir, had been picking up stray transmissions. At first it sounded like noise, radio static from ancient Earth. Then words formed inside the noise. Transmission origin, Sol system. He leaned closer. The voice was human, calm and steady. "We remember. We are returning." Sethir cut the signal and stared into space. Every story he'd heard about Earth said the same thing. No life remained. How could this be? He sent the recording to Central Command. And then his ship vanished without a trace. Within hours, the entire galactic network went quiet. Every outpost near human space stopped responding. Only one final image made it through the data stream. A silver planet lit by the sun and a shadow falling across it. The Council met again, this time in panic. Fleet admirals shouted for weapons activation. Diplomats begged for negotiation. Someone suggested sending an envoy to Earth, but Earth did not wait. A massive tear in space opened above the Council's home system. Light bent outward like a mirror of water, and from it emerged a colossal structure the size of a moon. At first it seemed to be a station. Then it moved. Every sensor in the system froze from interference. Energy levels spiked beyond known physics. The hum of its engines carried across space, deep and slow. Like the heartbeat of a giant, on its hull were letters, half erased by time but still readable. UNS Vanguard. The Council watched as the ship drifted closer, not aggressive, not hostile, but with purpose. Then a signal appeared on all channels. No translation was needed. It was spoken in every language simultaneously. "To those who forgot us, we have not forgotten you." The message ended. Every Council world heard it. Every child, every leader. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath. High Chancellor Varen felt something he had not felt in centuries. Fear. He turned to his advisors. "What do we do?" The AI replied quietly, "Wait." On the view screen, the Vanguard opened its hangar bays. Light poured out, not weapons, but golden beacons that spread through the system. Each beam touched an ancient satellite, long dormant, now awakening to life. Old Earth symbols appeared in the data streams. Peace treaties, trade maps, names of worlds the Council had thought were theirs first. A voice spoke again. "We come not to destroy you. We come to remind you of what you did." The feed cut. For a moment, the Council sat in silence, the sound of their own breathing loud in their ears. Outside the windows, the massive human ship hung motionless like a judgment made of metal and memory. Then, from the edges of space, other shadows began to move. Dozens of them, hundreds, each one carrying the same mark, humanity rising. The Chancellor stood, his hands shaking. They were never gone, he whispered. They were waiting for us to forget, and beyond the stars, Earth stirred once more. The galaxy did not sleep that night. Every major world in the Council's network broadcasted emergency alerts. Fleets were scrambled. Defenses activated. Yet through all the confusion and panic, one strange fact echoed. Across every communication channel, the human ship had not attacked. It just waited. The UNS Vanguard floated in the void above the Council's capital, whirled like a silent mountain. Its surface shimmered with a silver glow, neither metal nor light. Scanners showed impossible readings. The ship emitted no radiation, no heat, no visible propulsion. And yet it was there, massive and unmoving. No one could explain it. Inside the Council's war chamber, tension was a living thing. Dozens of admirals, scientists, and diplomats gathered around the holographic display of the ship. None dared speak loudly. High Chancellor Varen finally broke the silence. Status report. An Alindran commander stepped forward. Every weapon we've aimed at them has been neutralized before activation. Energy drains, system failures, unexplained distortions. They're not jamming us. They're rewriting our power grids. The Council's military representative, a scaled warrior named Kryth, slammed his clawed hand on the table. Then we strike first. All fleets, concentrated firepower, silence, Varen snapped. We attack that and we risk our existence. The chamber went quiet again. Meanwhile, aboard the Vanguard, the view from its bridge was breathtaking. Stars stretched like rivers of light beyond the reinforced glass. At the center of the command deck stood Commander Rice, humanity's appointed envoy. A man born on Mars, raised under the cold light of exile. His crew operated in complete focus. No one spoke unless needed. Every movement was precise, calm, almost rehearsed. Rice gazed at the holographic projection of the Council's capital. They're afraid, he said softly. Lieutenant Mara, his communication officer, nodded. They should be. They erased us from history, and now they see what that silence created. Rice didn't smile. We are not here for vengeance. Remember that, she looked down. Yes, sir. He turned toward the dark side of the planet. Open the relay channels. The ship's systems hummed to life, sending waves of encoded signals into deep space. Those signals weren't weapons. They were awakening something. Old human colonies. Lost outposts. Forgotten machines buried under alien soil. Across hundreds of worlds, ancient human AIs came online, one after another, whispering through the data streams. We endure. We return. We remember. Back in the Council's chamber, alarms screamed. Unidentified transmissions across 27 sectors, shouted a technician. Origin, unknown. Wait, they carry human encryption patterns, a council member's voice cracked. But humanity never had access to those sectors. The screen filled with images. On every major planet, monuments long thought alien were suddenly glowing. Ancient towers, silent satellites, black cubes buried under oceans. They built them, whispered the archivist of Zera. Humans built them long before we did. Impossible, shouted Kryth. We are the founders of this galaxy's order. The archivist turned, her voice calm and cold. Order built on what, Commander? Lies. Varen raised his hand for silence. If humanity built these, why reveal them now? No one answered. Then the room darkened. Every holographic display flickered and a new figure appeared. Commander Rice. His image was projected in front of the Council, his face calm, his eyes tired. Members of the Galactic Council, he began, his voice deep but steady. 30,000 years ago, your ancestors destroyed our colonies and erased our existence from your records. You called it mercy. We called it genocide. The chamber erupted in panic. Rice waited until the noise faded. We are not here to wage war, he said. We are here so you will never forget again. His image faded, and then came silence, a silence so heavy that it felt alive. Outside, the Vanguard began to move. Slowly, gracefully, it turned away from the planet. A burst of blue light radiated from its engines. And then, just as mysteriously as it had arrived, it vanished, leaving only a soft ripple of distortion in its wake. The galaxy held its breath. Across hundreds of council systems, the aftershocks continued. Data centers crashed, old archives unlocked themselves, and long-suppressed memories came back to light. Civilizations that had once believed they were the first now discovered traces of ancient human presence, ruins, technology, DNA. Everywhere, the same message appeared. We do not seek revenge. We seek remembrance. For the first time in its history, the Galactic Council was afraid not of destruction, but of truth. High Chancellor Varen sat alone in his office, staring at the stars. His reflection in the window looked older than ever. He whispered to himself, "They could have wiped us out." "Why didn't they?" The AI answered softly from the desk console. "Perhaps they remember being like us once, lost, arrogant, blind." Varen closed his eyes. "And now?" "Now," said the AI, "they want us to see." Far away in the black of deep space, Commander Rice stood once more at the bridge window. Behind him, the crew worked in silence, maintaining contact with the awakened outposts. Mara approached. "The Council will try to understand what just happened." Rice nodded. "Good, let them. The silence before the storm is the moment they will think they still have control." She looked uneasy. "And after that?" Rice's gaze hardened. "Then they'll learn the truth. Humanity never disappeared. We evolved." The stars outside flickered as dozens of distant signatures appeared, faint lights, each marking the awakening of another human vessel, another colony, another secret. The Vanguard's engines hummed like thunder beneath his feet. Rice whispered quietly, more to himself than anyone else. "The storm begins when the truth is seen." The Galactic Council had not known true fear in centuries. They had fought rebellions, crushed invasions, and even defeated ancient cosmic storms that devoured stars. But this was different. This was silence, terrible, patient silence. It had been 3 weeks since the human ship vanished. 3 weeks since Commander Rice's message had burned through every communication channel. And yet even now no one dared move first. Every Council fleet stood ready, engines charged, weapons aimed into the void. But there was nothing to shoot at, no enemy, no signal, no sound. The galaxy had become a waiting room for judgment. High Chancellor Varen sat in his command chamber, sleepless. His eyes scanned the reports on his holodesk. Dozens of worlds now claimed to have found human relics, machines buried in deserts, stations floating near suns, strange devices humming back to life after thousands of years. One report described an entire city emerging from beneath the surface of a frozen moon. The city was human. The symbols were human. The technology, centuries beyond the Council's best. He whispered to himself, "They've been here all along." His assistant AI responded, "Correct, Chancellor. Humanity's empire once spanned the stars. We erased them from record, but their work never stopped existing." Varen stood and walked toward the massive viewing window. Beyond it, the galaxy looked calm, painted in soft blues and golds. "What do they want?" he murmured. The AI paused. "Perhaps for you to remember." Far away, beyond the galactic rim, inside a dark nebula, the UNS Vanguard reappeared. The ship floated near a dying star, its engines dim but alive. Commander Rice stood at the bridge again, surrounded by silence. His officers monitored the systems, each console glowing with data from the reactivated human colonies. "Status?" he asked quietly. Lieutenant Mara replied, 73 colonies awakened. 900 satellites online. Dark Relay Alpha awaiting your signal." Rice nodded. "Good. Begin Phase 2. The crew exchanged glances, uncertain. They knew what Phase 2 meant, contact. Not with the Council, but with the others, across the galaxy. Human descendants, those who had survived, hidden on distant worlds, were finally coming home. The communication array extended, and light rippled through the void. From the shadows of distant systems, faint voices answered. "This is Eden 9 Colony. Confirming signal. Here, Helios Outpost, operational. Arcadia Fleet, standing by." Hundreds of voices followed. Rice closed his eyes for a moment, overwhelmed by the sound of humanity's echo returning from across the stars. 30,000 years, he whispered, and they still remember our name. On the Council capital world, scientists struggled to understand the strange phenomenon spreading across their systems. Entire sectors had gone dark, Yet energy readings showed massive activity underground and in orbit. Explain it, Varen demanded. A trembling analyst replied, Chancellor, it's not an invasion. It's activation. Something is turning on inside our planets. Some of our oldest foundations, our communication arrays, everything is connected to human technology we never recognized. The realization struck the chamber like lightning. The Council had unknowingly built their empire on human ruins. Outside their world, space itself began to shimmer. A faint ripple formed above the upper atmosphere. Like a reflection in water, fleet sensors screamed warnings. Massive energy surge, gravitational distortion, unknown field. Then the ripple exploded into light. Through it emerged a formation of colossal ships, each one shaped differently, some smooth and silver, others black with glowing blue veins. Yet everyone bore the same insignia, a small white circle crossed by 3 lines. The human insignia. The people of the Council's capital looked to the sky. 1,000 cities paused, their skies filled with silver light. Broadcasts from orbit showed what no one believed possible. Hundreds of human ships emerging silently, each dwarfing the largest Council dreadnought. No weapons fired, no threats issued. The ships simply took formation around the planet, orbiting like guardians. A voice crackled across all frequencies, calm, firm, human. This is Commander Rice of the UNS Vanguard. The memory of humanity has returned. We come not to destroy but to be remembered. Every world heard it. Every race, every leader. The Council's war fleets panicked. Thousands of ships moved into defensive lines, yet none dared to open fire. Varen activated the main communication relay. Commander Rice! The Council wishes to open dialogue. There was silence for a long moment. Then Rice's voice replied, distant and cold. Dialogue was possible 30,000 years ago. Now there is only truth. Before the Council could respond, every planetary screen lit up with a wave of human transmissions. Images flooded the skies, archival footage, recovered memories and ancient history. Entire star systems watched the crimes of their ancestors unfold before their eyes. The burning of early human colonies, the forced silence of Earth, the declaration that erased humanity from record. Crowds across alien worlds fell silent. Generations raised to believe humans were myths now saw the truth. Their governments had built an empire on genocide. On the Vanguard, Rice stood with his crew watching the chaos unfold across the galactic network. Lieutenant Morrow whispered, They will turn against each other now. Rice shook his head. No, they will turn toward the truth. That's what we wanted. Not war, remembrance. She looked at him uncertain. And after that? Rice's eyes darkened. After that, humanity will rise again. He walked to the viewing window, watching the capital world below surrounded by the silent human fleet. In that moment, for the first time in thousands of years, the galaxy understood something ancient. One ship had come first, not to fight, but to awaken billions. As the light of the awakening spread from planet to planet, humanity's presence grew stronger. More ships emerged from hidden folds in space. More colonies answered the call. The galaxy trembled, not under attack but under truth. For the first time in its long, proud history, the Galactic Council had to face what it had buried. And above them, in the endless black sky, humanity returned, not as conquerors, but as the ghosts of memory turned to light. For days the galaxy burned with light, not from weapons but from truth. Every world under the Galactic Council saw the same images. The ancient war against early humans, the destruction of Earth's colonies, the silence that followed. Every species watched in disbelief as their own history rewrote itself. Cities fell quiet. Soldiers laid down their arms. On dozens of planets, people began to question everything they'd been taught. The truth had done what no army could. It broke the Council from within. Inside the Council chamber, chaos ruled. Representatives shouted across the hall, accusing each other of lies, betrayal, and cowardice. This is manipulation, one alien roared. Humans forged these records. But the holographic screens above them kept showing the same undeniable proof. Council fleets attacking unarmed human worlds, their ancestors cheering as Earth burned. High Chancellor Varen sat motionless in his seat. He didn't speak. He didn't even blink. Finally, he whispered, We destroyed the first civilization to ever reach the stars. The silence that followed was heavier than any explosion. In the orbit above, the UNS Vanguard hung still, its massive form surrounded by the awakened human fleet. Dozens of smaller vessels now accompanied it, each bearing the insignia of old colonies reborn: Arcadia, Helios, Titania, Elysium. From the bridge, Commander Rice watched the chaos unfold through holographic transmissions. Every world, every species now faced the truth they had buried. Lieutenant Mara approached him. "Sir, their unity is gone. The Council's military commands are splitting apart. Some fleets are refusing orders." Rice nodded, expression unreadable. "Truth is the most powerful weapon. We don't need to fire a single shot." "But," she hesitated, "what if they do?" He turned toward the viewport. "Then they'll only prove what they are, and what we've become." Far below, on the Council's capital world, panic had turned into uprising. Crowds filled the streets chanting for justice. In the skies, banners of resistance replaced the Council's emblem. The galaxy's oldest government was crumbling. A young reporter broadcasted live, her voice trembling. For the first time in history, the Council's own citizens are calling for humanity's forgiveness. They want contact, they want answers. Hours later, a message request reached the Vanguard. It came directly from Chancellor Varan himself. Rice stared at the message notification. "They're asking for dialogue," Mara said. "Accept it," he replied. The hologram of the Chancellor appeared in front of him. Varan looked broken, his once bright eyes dim, his shoulders heavy. "Commander Rice," he began slowly, "you've won. The truth has spread. The Council cannot contain it. But if this continues, the entire galaxy will collapse. Billions will die in rebellion and chaos. What do you want from us?" Rice studied him for a long moment. "We want memory," he said softly. "We want your worlds to remember what you did, not just in your records, but in your hearts. No more erased names. No more lies." Varan bowed his head. "And if we agree?" Rice answered without hesitation. "Then humanity will stand beside you, not above you. The galaxy will be rebuilt together, equal at last." There was silence. Then with a weary nod, Varan said, "I will speak to the Council. Perhaps it's time for atonement." The connection ended. On the bridge, Mara looked uncertain. "Do you really trust them, Commander? The same Council that erased us?" Rice shook his head. "No, but we don't need their trust. We need their understanding." He turned back toward the stars. "Prepare for transmission." Within minutes, the Vanguard sent a message across the entire galaxy. "We do not seek revenge. We seek remembrance." The galaxy's next age begins not with war, but with truth. The words echoed through billions of screens, across thousands of languages. The message reached every colony, every soldier, every citizen. For the first time in history, the galaxy listened. But peace was never simple. Far across the void, a group of Council generals gathered secretly aboard a hidden station. Their faces were grim. "They will destroy us with peace," one of them hissed. "The humans will rule without firing a weapon." Another leaned forward. "Then we strike first, quietly, while they still think we're broken." They began transmitting orders to the remaining loyal fleets, dark orders. Aboard the Vanguard, sensors suddenly flared. Mara's voice rose sharply. "Incoming signatures, 20, no, 50 ships, they're locking weapons." Rice's eyes narrowed. So, the old order chooses death. The enemy fleet appeared out of hyperspace, Council warships armed and ready. Mara shouted, "They're powering plasma arrays." Rice stood calmly at the center of the bridge. "Hold position, but sir, hold." The first volley of plasma fire blazed across space, hundreds of glowing spears racing toward the Vanguard. The impact should have been catastrophic. Instead, the light simply bent. The energy folded around the ship like ripples on water, vanishing into nothingness. The crew gasped. Rice spoke softly. "They never understood. We moved beyond war long ago. He raised his hand. Activate the reflection field. A sphere of light expanded outward from the vanguard. Every enemy ship caught within it froze in space. Their engines went silent, their weapons powered down. No explosion, no fire, just silence. Rice closed his eyes. Let them live. Let them see. The council generals on the command ship stared in horror as their systems went dead. What have they done? Their screens filled with a single message written in Old Earth language. Violence is the language of those who fear truth. Then their ships were released, left powerless but unharmed. Back on the Vanguard, Mara whispered, "You could have destroyed them." Rice answered quietly, "That's not why we returned." He turned to his crew. "Prepare for descent." It's time humanity stood on Council soil once more. As the massive ship began its slow approach toward the planet, the skies filled with golden light. Billions watched from below as the Vanguard broke through the clouds, glowing like a second sun. Humanity had not come to conquer. They had come to remind the galaxy what it meant to be human. The UNS Vanguard descended through clouds thick with light. Below, the Council's capital stretched across the planet like veins of silver fire, millions of towers glowing in the dawn. Every screen, every citizen, every city watched as the first human ship in 30,000 years came home to the world that had once condemned them. Commander Rice stood at the center of the bridge. "Prepare landing sequence," he ordered quietly. The crew moved in perfect rhythm. No music played. No words were needed. The engines hummed like distant thunder as the ship broke through the lower atmosphere. The Council had cleared a massive plaza for the landing, a sacred site known as the Hall of Concord. It was the very place where millennia ago, the Council had voted to erase humanity. Now, it would witness their return. Billions watched as the Vanguard touched down, its surface glowing softly under the sunrise. The air trembled with the sound of its engines powering down. Then a single ramp extended from its hull, and Commander Rice stepped onto alien soil. He wore no armor, no weapon, just a simple black uniform bearing the white insignia of Earth. Around him, elite guards of dozens of species lined the plaza, unsure whether to salute or aim their rifles. None moved. At the top of the steps stood High Chancellor Varen, flanked by what remained of the Council. He looked smaller now, a man burdened by history. Rice approached slowly, each step echoing across the silent plaza. Varen's voice shook as he spoke. "Commander Rice of Earth, welcome to the Hall of Concord." Rice stopped before him. "The last time this hall spoke of humanity," he said softly, "it was to declare us extinct." The words cut through the air like glass. No one spoke. Finally, Varen lowered his head. "And that was our greatest mistake." The meeting began inside the hall. Massive pillars of light shimmered around them, recording every word. Varen stood before the assembly. "For centuries, we believed humanity had perished. Our records said your people were dangerous, unstable, and unfit for the stars. But now we see the truth. The Council's founders feared you, not for your violence, but for your potential." Rice watched silently. His expression was calm, unreadable. "Fear makes empires blind," he said. "You erased us to feel safe. But safety built on lies never lasts." Varen sighed deeply. "What do you seek now, Commander? Revenge? Retribution?" Rice shook his head. "No, we seek something greater. We seek remembrance. The galaxy must know what happened. The truth should not fade with time." The Chancellor hesitated, then said, "You have my word. The Council will record and share all archives of the war. Every world will know humanity's story." Rice's voice hardened. "Words are not enough. I want access to your archives, every one of them. There's more buried here than your Council ever admitted." The chamber fell into uneasy silence. A Council historian, a frail insectoid named Tevra, stepped forward. "Commander, there are records we ourselves do not understand. Ancient vaults sealed before even our time. They lie beneath this very city. The Council forbade access." Rice turned sharply. "Show me." Moments later, a convoy moved through the capital, human envoys and alien guards alike. The people gathered in the streets to watch them pass, whispering in awe and fear. They descended deep beneath the Hall of Concord. through layers of crystalline tunnels that had not been opened for millennia. At the lowest level, a massive door stood waiting, black, smooth, and humming faintly with power. "This vault," said Tevra, "was discovered long after the Council's founding. No one has been able to open it." Rice stepped forward. His wrist device began to glow. Lines of light rippled across the vault's surface, responding to his presence. The others stepped back as the door slowly parted with a sound like a heartbeat. Inside was a chamber filled with human technology, ancient, elegant, and impossibly advanced. Machines slept in perfect order, their metal untouched by time. At the center stood a single stasis pod. Rice approached cautiously. Inside the glass was a human, pale, motionless, preserved as if asleep. Mara's voice trembled. "Sir, is that—" He nodded slowly. "It's a sleeper from the first Exodus. One of the founders." The pod's console flickered to life, projecting a faint hologram, a woman's face, serene and kind. Her recorded voice filled the chamber. "If you are seeing this, humanity has endured. We built these vaults to protect not our weapons, but our knowledge. The Council feared our power, but it was never our ships or machines that made us dangerous, it was our memory. Never let them erase it again." The hologram faded. Rice stood in silence, eyes fixed on the pod. For a long moment, no one spoke. Finally, Varen whispered, "All this time, you were the builders of our galaxy." Rice turned to him. "And you became its rulers. That balance must end." Varen nodded slowly, his face pale. "Then what happens now?" Rice looked back at the sleeper pod. "Now humanity returns not as conquerors but as witnesses. The age of lies is over." He placed his hand on the pod's control panel. The glass shimmered. The sleeper inside began to stir. Back on the surface, the skies above the capital darkened. Human ships formed patterns across the clouds, their lights glowing like constellations. Across the galaxy, people felt it, a shift, a stirring of something ancient and unstoppable. The past had awakened. And as the first human of the old world opened her eyes after 30,000 years, a single word left her lips. Home. The ancient chamber pulsed with light. The walls covered in human symbols flickered as the stasis pod opened for the first time in 30,000 years. Cold mist spilled onto the floor, and the figure inside slowly drew her first breath. Commander Rice stood motionless. His heart pounded, not from fear but from awe. The woman before him was a living link to the past, a relic of the first human age. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly with golden light. She looked around at the aliens, the soldiers, and finally at Rice. Her voice was soft, fragile, but carried a strange power. "So, they finally remembered?" The council guards took a step back. No one dared speak. Rice approached carefully. "Who are you?" She smiled faintly. "I am Dr. Ilara Miles, Chief Architect of the Exodus Project. We built the fleets that left Earth when the stars turned against us. And you, Commander, you are their echo." Varen, the Chancellor, stepped forward slowly. "You built all this?" he asked, his voice trembling. Ilara's eyes hardened. "We built more than ships. We built the foundations of your worlds. Humanity was the first civilization to colonize this spiral arm. We gave your ancestors the technology to rise, and they rewarded us with fire." She turned toward the holographic panels lighting up across the room. The vault systems awakened fully now, projecting visions of the old human empire. Towering cities on alien worlds, fleets stretching across stars, children of every color walking under twin suns. And then came the betrayal. Rice and the others watched as the projection showed alien armadas descending upon human colonies, declaring them too powerful to control. The room fell silent except for the echo of screams frozen in holographic light. Ilara whispered, "They feared we would become gods. So they made us ghosts." Rice clenched his fists. "They erased everything. Our history, our pride, our people." Ilara looked at him sadly. "And yet you returned, not with vengeance, but with truth. That means humanity still remembers what matters." She stepped closer, her hand brushing the glowing console. "Commander, the Vanguard wasn't meant for war. It was meant for remembrance. Its engines were designed to awaken the vaults scattered across the galaxy. Each one holds not weapons, but knowledge. The kind of truth no empire can bury forever." Varen's voice broke. "Why reveal this now? The galaxy is falling apart. The truth is tearing us apart." Ilara looked at him with calm certainty. Because that is how healing begins. Before rebirth, there must be ruin. Outside, storms of light rippled through the skies. The human fleet above the planet began transmitting signals to every system at once. Each signal carried blueprints, archives, and histories. Every hidden truth humanity had guarded for millennia. Across thousands of worlds, people, alien and human alike, watched as the same message appeared. We are not your enemies. We are your beginning. On some worlds, crowds cheered. On others, leaders panicked. The galaxy had spent 30,000 years believing humanity was a myth, and now the myth was rewriting their reality. Back in the vault, Rice watched Ilara approach the main console. You built this to preserve history, he said. But why were you in stasis? She smiled faintly. Because we knew one day someone would need to remind them what it means to be human. Rice frowned. Remind who? She looked directly at him. All of them, even you. He hesitated. What do you mean? The vengeance inside you, she said softly. It burns quietly, but it's there. You want justice. I understand. But if humanity returns with anger, we become the very monsters they once imagined. Her words struck deep. For the first time since his mission began, Rice felt doubt. Above them, in orbit, the hidden council generals who had survived their earlier defeat gathered once more. Their fleets were battered but not destroyed, one general hissed through his comms. They're spreading their influence across the stars. Soon every world will kneel to them. Another replied coldly. Then we will burn the truth itself. Their ships began to charge weapons, targeting the planet below. Alarm screamed inside the vault. Mara's voice crackled through Rice's comms. Commander! Enemy fleet incoming, charging main cannons. They're targeting the capital. Rice turned to Ilara. Can the Vanguard intercept? She shook her head. They're too close. You must trust the vault. Before he could ask what she meant, she pressed her hand to the console. Light exploded from the walls. Pure, blinding energy spreading upward through the planet's crust and into the sky. Outside, the alien fleet fired. Beams of plasma tore through the clouds, but every blast was absorbed by the light. The energy didn't destroy. It transformed. The alien warships froze mid-flight. Their power cores flickered, then dimmed. The weapons melted harmlessly into dust, drifting away like ash. Rice and Varen watched through the vault's holographic projection as the impossible unfolded. Ilara's voice echoed in the chamber. The light of memory cannot be destroyed. We built it to protect truth, not lives. The vault began to collapse around them, but her calm never faltered. Go, she said to Rice. The galaxy needs a leader who remembers. Rice hesitated. What about you? I've already done my part, she said with a sad smile. Now it's your turn. The pod's energy flared again, surrounding her in golden light. As the humans and council guards fled upward, her voice lingered behind them. Humanity's strength is not in power, it's in memory. Never forget that. Moments later, the vault sealed itself forever. The light from within spread through the planet's core, stabilizing the skies and silencing every weapon still pointed at Earth's children. Rice and Varen emerged onto the surface as dawn broke over the capital. The clouds parted, revealing the human fleet hovering silently above. Varen turned to him. What now, Commander? Rice looked toward the horizon. Now, we build something better, together. He touched his wrist console and transmitted a single message to all known worlds. The age of silence is over. From this day forward, every world will speak the truth. Humanity has returned, not to rule, but to remind the galaxy what unity means. As the message spread, the stars seemed to shine brighter. Across the galaxy, old enemies spoke, new alliances formed, and forgotten worlds awakened. For the first time in 30,000 years, the universe remembered who taught it to reach the stars. The dawn of remembrance had begun.